Okay, so part two, let me pick back up. So basically, the hotel that we initially got was not everything it said it was going to be. And we end up having to not stay there. And so I requested a refund. So the money doesn't go back right then and there. It can take 7 to 10 business days. They say according to your bank. And so, like I said, um, I had money allotted for our trip. But when I booked this hotel, um, and then having to cancel and then wait on the refund, I had to in turn get another hotel room. So that cut in money that I didn't really have, the extra money to do because it was a little bit more. I paid for that room online, and when I paid for that room online, it gave me a confirmation number and everything. And when I get to the hotel, they tell me that they're double booked. Then not only were they double booked, he said triple booked because the gentleman told me that he had somebody in the room already. Then he said he saw my reservation, and then there was somebody else who was also booked and scheduled for the same room at the same time. That doesn't make sense to me, but he says it happens. So we waited an hour there while mind you, this is the middle of the night, while he called his hotel manager trying to figure out what's going on. And so we end up, I told him our situation and everything. So we end up going to the car. He said we could stay out there until we get our situation worked out. And I was like, ain't no way. Like this is absolutely no way. So now I done double the funds that I had expected for this trip. I had to wait for them to refund us the money. And so before I can get another hotel room or anything, because mind you, we had to get into the tournament. So I told my son, worst case, because of the situation, we probably won't watch you play, but I'll make sure that he gets there. But I just hate because when we go on these tournaments, we try to turn them into like a family event, like a little family thing. So it's not just about him and, we're going out of town. So we all try to make the most of it as a family. So then something just didn't sit right with me. But the kids, they humbled themselves. They weren't mad at all. At that point, all we wanted to do was just sleep. But I prayed about it. We prayed. And something said, you go back in there and talk to this man. And you be humble. You trust God. And I went back in there and he was like, ma'am, I done told you we don't have a room. I said, can you double check? Because them 2 double bookings might be me trying to get the room. And he said, but somebody's in the room. I can't give you a room that somebody's already in. So then he looked it up and he called the room. He said, are you so-and-so? And I'm like, no. Then out of nowhere, he goes back and he checks and my name is on the guest check-in list. But it wasn't up there before he says. This is now 2 hours later in the middle of the night. How is that possible that my name could be on the check-in list expected to arrival, but it wasn't 2 hours ago? And you showed somebody in this very much room. Long story short, nobody was in the room. We end up getting that room. So then the next day, we go to the tournament. We're out of town. The Wi-Fi, the signal wasn't working. And I'm trying to unlock my car so I can pay. And I tell them, my son went, all the boys went in before I did because, so they go in with the team. So it was just like me and my daughter left to pay. And because of the situation with the hotel and waiting for them to refund my money, I'm like, well, I'll just let them go in there and watch it and I'll just sit in the car. He let my son get in and he didn't even charge my oldest son. He said it was something about the shirt that he had on. My son had on like some spiritual, we wear shirts with messages on them, spiritual, inspirational messages. And so the man says, I called my son to the front. So I was like, can I use your Wi-Fi? Maybe if I connect to your hotspot, I can get the card unlocked so I can try to pay. And he goes, well, how about the officer, the person at the check-in says, ma'am, how about you just pay to get in? I'll let your daughter get in free. I was like, well, that'd be great, but I want you to know I do have the money to get in. I don't want him to think I'm just another person trying to, beat the system to not have to pay. And he was like, okay, well, whatever, And then my son comes up there and I said, how is my other son doing? He said, you got a son that's playing? And I said, yes, sir, he's in the tournament. And he says, and this young man right here is your son? I was like, yes, sir. And then he said, which one is your other son? And we peeked around the corner and I pointed out my son, who was actually doing exceptionally well at the time. He's like, that guy, he's amazing. I seen him over there doing his defense is awesome. And I was like, yeah. And then he was like, you go ahead and go in there and you watch your son play. And then he said, he put his hand on my other son. He's like, I didn't know this was your son. This young man, he's destined to do great things. And he was like, you make sure you obey your mom, sir, young man. He said, yes, ma'am. I said, oh, yes, he does. He's, and I told him a little bit about my oldest son. And he was like, giving us words of encouragement. And he said he saw something in my son, and then his shirt alone made him, that's what made him want to bless him. He didn't even stop him and ask him for a payment. He said, you're good, don't worry about it. And then when I told him, he was like, and that's your son? And he let me in, and for the whole weekend, we didn't have to even pay for the whole tournament. Mind y'all, it was $45 a person. These AAU tournaments can add up. It was $45 a person. Y'all, that's my how has God blessed me and was looking over me, because he blessed me with that hotel room, because my kids and I could have been. Somebody interrupted me, so I tried to get a meal in right quick. But yeah, so when I say how is God looking over me and watching me, he blessed me with that hotel room, because had I just not settled and had I just not trusted God, we would have been out there. My babies, we would have all been out there that evening. Signal wasn't signaling. I couldn't call anybody. And there was an empty room already there just waiting for us. And then getting in the room, in the game, that was the whole purpose of us coming out there, to watch my son play. Of course, spend time with the family. And so to come all the miles out of town and not be able to see my son play, God blessed us that we were able to get in, not one day, but both days, the whole weekend. That was nobody but God. God's always watching. And even in the most trying times, he wants to know, are you going to give up on him? Or are you going to still trust and believe that he's going to bring you through? And not one time, even though I was upset, I was bothered, but during the course of all these untimely events, my kids did not complain. We were all tired. We were sleepy. We were hungry. We did not complain. We just trust God. We prayed. And we remained encouraged. People wasn't answering phones. We couldn't get in touch with anybody. The signal wasn't signaling. And God made a way out of no way. And he always does. Even when it seems like he's not listening and he's not watching, he's working it out for you. He's working it out for you. And then, just to add icing to the cake, them couple of days later, here I go. I had a bill that crept up on me around the corner. And that, mind you, after all the mishaps I'd had going on from the games, I'm like, oh, Lord, this is something else, and I got to pay this bill. The refund from the hotels hit right on time, that I was able to take care of that bill too. Nobody but God. Nobody but God. And he's going to do the same thing for you. In fact, he's already doing it, but you just got to trust the process. Somebody's going through right now, and you might not see the light at the end of the tunnel. We might be going through a trying time. Maybe you're in a breakup right now. Maybe you're drowning in your finances and need a bill paid, or whatever it is that you're going through, hurting, need answers. I want you to know right now, as I appear before you in this video, God's already working your situation out, but he needs you to trust and believe in him. Have faith in him that he's going to work that thing out for you. It shall come to pass, but you got to trust and believe, and we have to be obedient, and you have to do your part too. Pray about it, give it to God, and let him do the rest. I promise you. But I thank y'all so much for watching. I love you. God loves you more. And I definitely look forward to connecting with you guys in the next video. You guys be encouraged. Remember, he's already working that situation out for you, okay? I promise you. Y'all be blessed.